better than expected.
They are previous Six Invitational champions for a reason. Yeah. They're a world champion team. They're back here to almost, reclaim it. They won it in 20, lost it in 21, they won it again in 22. And you speak to a lot of the NA pros and they will say about SSG is that they never know when they're beat. They approach every single round the same way. Whether they're 6-0 up or 6-0 down, they just go exactly the same way, same mindset. And that's a really difficult thing to achieve in esports.
And we are moving into the map ban phase now. We're getting that information up on your screen. Jess, I'm going to put you in the hot seat for this one. What are you thinking?
I'm actually really, not surprised, but I'm really happy for SSG that they've not gone the route of banning their worst map. They've actually banned the best map of their opponents.
Yes.
It's something we've already discussed in length on previous tests. Do you ban the best map of your opponents?
What's the strategy
Do you ban your worst map? I actually think with the map pool of SSG, that's a smart way to go, because if you let Empire get momentum on one of those maps that happens to be their best, that can be really dangerous.
So here's the curious thing about this map ban and the picks that we're seeing in particular. SSG and Clubhouse are just synonymous with each other, right? The SSG roam. You do not expect SSG to ever lose Clubhouse. However, Clubhouse and Kafe, we talk about Empire inside of Best of Ones having 3 big maps that they love. Clubhouse, Kafe, Coastline.
Yep.
So for Empire, they're equally as comfortable. The old additive was never take a Russian team to Clubhouse. That's exactly what SSG have done. They need to be on top of their game because Empire know Clubhouse equally as well as SSG do.
It's a rough one because you want to pick your best map. Unfortunately, that aligns with your opponent's one of their best maps as well, but you also don't want to throw it out because you want to trust in yourselves to be able to do it.
The overall map pool for SSG, I would say, is better than Empire because they've got it down, SSG got it down to Villa or Oregon as a decider, and both of them, or neither of them, are good maps traditionally for Empire.
Okay, really quickly, I'm going to be honest, I don't know who y'all are rooting for. You were kind of split when I was listening to your analysis. So Fresh, who are you picking?
It will be Empire in 2 or SSG. If SSG get one of the first 2 maps, they'll win Oregon.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Wow.
Empire would have to do it in 2.
You said that about Na'Vi,
who nearly did do it in 2.
You're right. I'm going to say I'm going to stand behind my man Lycan, who I think is one of the best coaches in the world. If they could beat that last series, they could probably do this one too.
Ooh, our analysts divided. Well, thank you so much. You're both fantastic. Really appreciate your analysis. But will SSG start strong or start slow? And which Empire team is showing up today? We shall see. Happen Fluke and take it away. Let's go.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And yes, we find ourselves back with a little bit of a classic matchup here between SSG and Empire, far from the first time these 2 teams have met.
Yeah, they have met one another many different times, and if we just quickly take a trip down that memory lane, the Clubhouse been played multiple times.
Yeah.
So have the other maps. So it is definitely going to be an interesting one. Of course, metas change, teams change slightly, as in, well, I don't think we have seen too many roster changes on either of these. Of course, the latest was the addition of Hotten on the side of Spacestation. I'm not quite sure. Did they play against that? Yes, Sweden. Last time, yeah.
Yeah, classic Sweden, but Sweden were those best of ones.
That is true.
Sweden had a little bit of different energy about it. They sort of met in those best of one scenarios, and although they are, there's not many teams that have as much experience on the big best of 3, best of 5s in finals as these 2 teams. This is such an experienced server right now.
Last 2 times they played, however, it went into the way of Spacestation Gaming, which were both played on the map Villa, and both of those were taken away by the side of Spacestation. So we're not heading there. None of the 3 maps will be part of that. If looking back at best of 3s, it was Kafe 7-4 Empire and Clubhouse 8-7 Empire. That was back at the Mexico Major.
That's it. Mexico, and it wasn't too far away, but you're sort of looking at these 2 teams having that, back and forth split, a back and forth divide, and Mexico was obviously where Empire were performing better than some of their other performances on the grander stage. They have generally been consistent, but, that was where they went the distance. That was when they were able to really sort of put down a mark as the only non-Latin American team to fly a flag.
This year.
Yeah.
That's the important part as well. Yeah, they were the only finalist in a major or 6 invitational in the last 12 months who were not from Latam. And with that, there is instantly that bit of pressure upon them because they haven't made any big roster changes and nothing since then. And you kind of wanted to see them go all that way again, especially with Na'Vi that is currently, knocked down, Eminem who is in the losers bracket, and BDS who is already eliminated.
They're gone.
It is good to see whether or not Empire will be able to live up to these old heights again. For those of you who did not realize, we are in a quick pause. It was called. It's not a tactical timeout.
It's a technical.
It's probably a technical. And we'll just get that quickly resorted before we actually do get into this matchup.
All right, well, let's talk shop. Let's talk about how we think this is going to go, because there's some fun statistics about these two teams throughout all that they've done so far. Obviously, Empire, they haven't played yet today. If you missed SSG's game earlier today, it was versus Na'Vi, and they almost lost it. They lost the opening map, they lost Chalet. Then in the middle, in that bank that was SSG's pick, they had a massive comeback. They were on about 6-3, I believe it was, and then won every single defense since that point. Got themselves to win on that map, and then went over to the third map and flawless defense to come back from 1-5 down. They've had a tough warm-up. They've had a rocky start to the day.
And as always, fatigue might start to play a role at some point. Of course, over the entire event, every single team has only played one best of 3 a day. And now suddenly, it is SSG that will have to play a second one. Now, there could be either two ways about this. Either they are warmed up well, or might have been worn out a little bit, whereas Empire have the opportunity to fully focus upon this match here, which might be their advantage.
And I think that's also worth sort of bringing as a point of comparison is, although they have a good club, it was obviously a flawless defense was their club earlier today. They didn't drop a single defensive round, and they're coming straight back into that. And that might be something that actually helps them, potentially. Obviously, you never really know about the conversation until the team is, and you've got to prepare for teams differently. But the fact that they've already sort of had a pretty hefty run at this today and come out the other side pretty pinch perfect, they still have that energy, they still have that blood, and they'll theoretically be able to drive it. But Empire as well, they've been able to get themselves into pretty solid positions across all of this.
Yeah, for sure, they have been able to set themselves up well, and as it's hot and on that roam, it is something we saw Na'Vi struggle with before. The Vigil basically drawing away the attention and making sure that Na'Vi slowed down. There's one thing, though, that we know about Empire, and they are pretty systematic. Yes, they might find out. Yes, they might be slowed down as a result, but they'll always continue their step-by-step plan. It is their identity, and it is what they do well. And what Fultz did well is to open it up with a nice nitro there. So that's the entry going towards the side of Space Station. That is then gone as well, and a bunch of utility out of the hands.
All the way on the top floor as well. So far from anything else that's going to come through, Joystick is going to be able to get a bit of a sniff here of Bosco, who's just going to leave that first ping at the top, but fall his way down. Didn't want to opt for the swing with the shotgun. Instead has just gotten out of there. The read is, well, he's long gone. And, well, as always, to pick up Rampy on the split, they are removed from it. The Malusi, that sort of acting connector, and Bosco's now in a bit of a tricky situation. He has Falls as the closest, but he's still a stretch away, and there's obviously Hotton on the other far side as well, and Strip, but it's a bit of an isolated push, and he knows he's got to go past somewhere where somebody's already died. He's going to take the dip dive, see if he can slip his way through, and does actually find an escape route, but look at that. Hotton, they're hot on his trail. The fight is on the door, and he says no. You're not on the list, your name's not there, you're not coming in. He actually pulls himself back in. Now, as I said, he's isolated here. That's the risky thing about playing in this position. There is one way out, and that is, for now, currently being watched. And even if he impacts the billiards and tries to go for a little bit more width, it's still a generally forward-directed position.
Yeah, so technically it's a 3-on-3 on the side now. If Empire do decide to push it, of course, they don't as of yet. The drone just continues to give away the information whether or not he will start pushing or not. And as a barricade gets opened up, he creates himself another opening. Well, that is being watched, however, and as always, spots the shoulder. He picks up the kill as well. Didn't pull the trigger until he was certain he was able to pick up the kill as well. And now they do no longer have to worry about a potential roamer to still be out there. The one thing they do have to worry about, though, is time. And this grenade might pick up Skies, actually forces him back. Not cooked properly enough. But a drop comes through. The diffuser gets dropped and they now need to swing in multiple different directions. Always gets the first, but he doesn't quite know about the shotgun around the corner. It's only up to Scyther now in a 1-on-2. He sees the first, but cannot quite connect. And Skies is going to be able to pick up that kill and make sure that Empire is not taking that first round away from them.
Empire, they found themselves a little bit caught up in the roam play. Obviously, losing down on the entrance made things a little bit more complex when they tried to go for the drop, and they tried to go for that attempted push round. They didn't have the Zephyr stuns. They didn't have that utility, that extra swing that could have come through with them. The Jackal was well put together. It was able to isolate 2 players, and although they didn't intently get the kill off the back of the tracks, look at what they did do and what Na'Vi massively struggled with earlier on in the day, which is just that freedom and safety of information of, well, we know where they've pulled themselves off to. We know where they've moved their way down. We've got them dropped out of this position so we can get that clarity on it. We know that there's the player off in strip, and they lost the engagement on strip door, but they had him, as we said, sort of locked and boxed in that area.
Yeah, they had, and that is the important part of it. They knew where he was. They didn't really have to worry about him. You know, you just hold the angles. He will come out at some point. The big issue was, though, that because it took quite long and because the initiative was within SSG to decide when that roamer would pop up again, a lot of time has passed by and a lot of time was wasted. And that leaves us with SSG, a single roundup over Empire here, who want to do better, of course, than that 1 round. They lost an early entry. Things could have been massively different with Dan still on the board. So that is something they'll have to watch out for. And of course, if you look at the scoreboard, it's only Always who managed to pick up kills and bring it back to a 2v1 or 2v2 at the end there.
Well, Always has always been that consistency for Empire over the past year. Empire as a team, if you've not intently watched them in EUL and just sort of seen them on majors, is their struggle is with that face that they've had. As they put it out on the desk, they got a bit too cautious, they got themselves double-checking things and found they lost that sharp edge that was famously led by Dan and Joystick. They are a great offline team. As they've proven in this tournament and many others throughout the year as well, they have that ability to sort of get over that, obviously hindered by the fact that 2 of the players are still playing from quarantine, I believe.
Yeah, doesn't help them, of course, so that is something that is definitely a hindrance. It has been in the group stage. Openings will be made. I thought for a second it was Hot and Cold jumping out the window and he actually rotated into the strip club. But Bosco now under pressure. Nitro comes out and will explode. Deals a lot of damage towards Always, but the kill is not being secured as of yet. Gemini Replicator will be checking out the construction where Shepard is looking to rotate around and potentially open up a new doorway. It is Empire that still needs to find an opening. It is the bar and it's the stage that they need to attack here. And as long as the stop floor is under construct, yeah, that it's annoying. The alibi Prismas.
They did that earlier against Na'Vi as well. They just throw it out of the strip club door on the far side, and they know it's a consistent thing on the screen, and it draws that irritance, but also allows this. We didn't see Hot and Cold do too many runouts, but it adds that sort of cover from it. There it is. It's removed by Empire, actually. They don't play around with it. They get rid of it, so they know they have a clearer idea of when a runout might come. Dan is able to find Bosco on this window, but there is Hot and Cold with that run out, and Rampy in the meantime suffers on longer engagement. Scythe has been able to find his way inside, and Joystick finds Rampy, finishes off that kill, and now it's just a slow creep down these main brick stairs. There is obviously still that trick around the corner. There is still the chance for player here, and as the clarity comes over Lounge, they've at least been able to clear a lot of space, which Na'Vi were not able to do before. Can they keep it? Because SSG played a lot of great retakes.
Now, there we have it. Joystick picks up an important kill. The bar has now been cleared out. We have a member of SSG in the strip club and one inside the kitchen. Scyther holds off an important rotate though and will shortly be able to potentially pick up Hotan if he does move out of the bathroom soon. Skies just holds an angle. He knows that this is where they need to come from. This is where the push should be coming in from, and as one kill is being landed back, it is Scyther that is unable to actually punish them for now. Houghton playing on those billiards here has an opportunity to try and deny this plant from happening. It's actually Skies that does that and drops that diffuser. Always is the only one left currently now, as Houghton will be able to pick up Scyther, who was playing up on those main stairs. 7 seconds left on the clock. Is not much time for him to work with and will potentially fall here as well. Gets the first, however, but the time runs out. And again, Empire start for time as they couldn't get past those last 2 players.
And it's now 11 defensive rounds won in a row, including the ones from the earlier showdown for SSG. And Over half of that was just on club defenses alone. They've kept up that trend. They've kept themselves going, but I will say that round there, that was some of the best pressure that they've had put against them. They had to sort of rebuild. They couldn't go for the flashy retakes they did before. A couple of good movements there from Houghton and from Skies to be able to get a couple of bites out of the approach there of Empire. Dropping the diffuser is always so integral, and it leaves always in a very tricky situation. But it's club defense. It's a defense that we know these two teams know very well. So here on the third one, here on the tertiary, is where we're most likely to start to see potentially a drop defense.
That's it, right? I mean, they did get quite close last time around. It's just that those last two players were an issue. Houghton, with his runouts, was able to wreak some havoc down onto the Empire players. And Skies, of course, playing in that kitchen really uncontested upon that moment where he was going to be able to pick up those kills. That is something that Empire will learn from in the upcoming round. So as soon as the next rotation will be started, they probably will not fall to a player inside that kitchen doorway, looking all the way through. The gem site is chosen and the extension will be here in CCTV Cache. All 5 members currently around this position, as some of them will start to fall back. It shows that utility is needed from every single member to keep track and keep control of this area, at least for as long as they possibly can. It's not the side, so they won't defend it with their lives. If they can fall back and make an impact, they will. That is something to keep in mind with this strategy. And Empire looking to instantly put up pressure from the garage side of things, which provides an extra angle and potentially cuts off a rotate as well if Rampy or Bosco want to go back.
Dan, he's been able to get 1 out of the 2 rounds before, but he's going to see if he can have a little bit more success than the last time he tried to get in on this door, where he was blown very quickly back outside. They have a presence at the top of red, and they're sort of weighing up where they want to make their approach from that opening, as the connection there onto the stockroom means it's not the cleanest route through, especially with the loose players that they've already sort of flaunted with and shown off always. He might see if he can throw a quick grenade over the top. We just had a Gon 6 pop off something, and actually just gets himself to the split side as that long stretch and angle gets opened up instead, including a rotate just behind the server and CC stack, so they can try and get themselves a little bit closer. There's a hole perfectly opened over the top. The Aruni gate means they can't go so directly, but here, the creep through always. He's on a little bit of a mission. How close can he get? How will this grenade cook itself? Rampy, he might have an idea. It's over the top and it gets caught out by the ADS. There's one. And that's actually different because last time when we saw this, there wasn't an ADS there. And Na'Vi were able to net 2 quick kills from it. This time they've learned, they've changed and adapted. Just that little read. And well, as the player gets himself in a dangerous situation, always finally finds the kill, but there's only about 1:20 left.
Yeah, there's not much time left, and they still need to push all the way over to the construction side. Fultz still out there looking with that DMR. We've seen it become a completely different beast. And Agiri, for example, was able to sidestep and pick up multiple double kills. And after that, multiple different people started to use it. It is actually a very incredible gun. That was the common consensus about it. 55 seconds on the clock. Empire have some presence on the highway. Shepard is out on the jacuzzi balcony, opening up as well, but will swiftly go up back to the top. So it's just to put up some pressure to the side of SSG. Let them think that there will be someone around that balcony, which will not be the case. The most of them will be pushing in for logistics. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a couple of them on the roof as well, ready to drop that hatch.
Now more of a spray comes through here. Dan is going to see if he can find a body, but you're looking at 30 seconds and always suffering here. Once again, SSG is starting to pull themselves back. They're not overextending and taking the fights when they can. Faults on a trade with always with Rampy and Shepard. Finding a trade and Shepard on a toll suddenly. Empire's been able to find an absolute rip tear of bodies. Rampy in the middle, but 10 seconds. Scyther needs to try and find a way to stick that diffuser, or they've got a double push. The flashes go out. They're going for the dig into bathroom, and Shepard knew it. Found the swing, found the offsite, and finally, after 11 successful defenses in a row between the opening 2 here and the previous series, SSG have lost one.
Yeah, and this time around, Empire was able to translate their opening kill into the round, even though there wasn't that much time left. Rampy managed to escape the wrath of Dan, walking through from the construction side, unable to pick up the kill with the LMG. But after that, it was a double push to come through. They didn't want to go for a plant there. They didn't want to risk 2 1v1s with the time running out. It was probably better as well to just go for that kill. You knew exactly where it was. There was no other way it could be except for in that shower cabin. And Church will be played yet once again. It is unlocked. and will be used by the side of SSG. Slight change coming up, seeing the goo mines coming back on the side of Rampy. Of course, since we saw that being changed, where you couldn't see the icons anymore over the entire map, but instead you needed to be in a line of sight and within 11 meters of them, I believe, to see whether or not they impacted or not.
I remember when Legion was old Legion.
Yeah, yes.
He was broken in the right hands, I think. He was in that strange position where if someone knew how to play him... Okay, the easiest way of framing this is there wasn't a single site where it wasn't a good decision to bring him.
Yeah, because
he was never bad.
Information. It's 11 goo mines or something you put down, and you can find out exactly where they are at what given time. It's like 10 damage you did on instant. It was tick damage, so they were forced to pull it out, which took time. You could see exactly where they were at what given time at that moment. So it's like, as you said, like it's always a good operator. It just brings so much.
Okay, SSG, you've got yourself a win on this before, and they've generally gone with a pretty similar lineup, and I'm curious to see how much time they try and throw again up top. They were happy to sort of play up here and pull themselves back at the right time with, as we said, Hot and going for the extension out onto the strip club side. Empire, they're paying it a bit of attention, but also a bit of caution, remembering that they lost a player to a very early false C4, and they don't want to make the same mistake. They have pulled off the Jackal. They don't think it worked as successfully as I thought it did, and I guess now they're going to prove me wrong. Maybe they wanted to get the kills off the back, and, well, there's a bit of a moment there. Hot and goes in for a fight, takes half damage. Was just pulling and playing against them and had a rough idea someone was in there and connected just a bit quicker as Dan looked away.
Kind of confused how the wall opened up by an exothermic, considering there was still a Mew Jimmer out there. But as it is, Empire, or SSG, that gets that first frag yet once more due to a bit of a surprise attack from Hotton. It is him actually using that ARC-7 to try and stay hidden for as long as he possibly can. See if he can waste that time. Bosco playing above, and Logi is having these vertical angles to work with, so as soon as Scyther walks in to try and breach, he might be picked up as a result. And Rampy's still up on the top floor as well. Rotten as well. So many people off site currently on the side of SSG that it is just going to be problematic for Empire if they don't realize this. Honestly, one person on site currently is just Skies. Maybe Phil's has fallen back, but you can literally overwhelm them.
Joystick, he's playing against this fight. He knows there's players there, and he doesn't quite get the catch in the C4, but he at least slips away. They've pushed with him, though. Always finds Rampy, and Bosco's got himself stacked up halfway up the stairs, ready to meet the Maker. But there is the danger of grenades, and it's something that both these teams know and play very, very well. So they've been able to pull focus. They can get themselves that kitchen hatch open now. They've pulled a player out of there and pulled at least one of them off the top floor, but you still have obviously the danger of the others, and it's a bit of a waiting game, and waiting games work way better if you're on the defender side. They've already slipped past, and they're watching a ghost that's already long gone, and Bosco, based on being able to get to this position, if he's gone unchecked, that can be a huge play. In fact, a full rotation with a shotgun now stacked up, and you can see Empire's having to fervently re-drone everything, try and recheck where all the players have gotten to.
There you have it. Swings up, gets the first kill. Joystick loses his life, and it's back. A 1 minute advantage here for the side of Space Station. Bosco able to slip by is going to be absolutely crucial here, always as well. Already inside the dirt tunnel, 14 seconds left. They're just going to execute right through there. Scyther above on the hatch is trying to provide some support, but as it gets taken out by a smoke canister and a nitro cell, it's only up to always now. But Hotton will be able to take out both, and it's SSG that win yet another round.
Once again, great play on the top floor, fed into by what was otherwise Empire getting a little bit lost. The player slipping past with the shotgun and that going unchecked. You could see they were set up entirely to try and prevent that. And sometimes one missed thing gives you a false confidence that leads to a player running around a corner and getting absolutely cut in half. CC is where we'll head to next, and this is still, for the record, this is still how they expect this to go. It is a club defense, as we've said. Everybody knows it. Everybody's familiar with it, and 4-2s are probably, it's probably one of the only maps that, if you were to look at the grand data of the tournament, sits standard.
It is. CCTV, the side that everybody knows how to attack. And, well, Empire actually, I have a feeling that they are going to be very happy to attack CCTV because they've perfected that push over the years. And sometimes it brings something new. Sometimes it brings something exciting. We'll get to see whether or not they do this time around as well, as SSG is setting up their hold pretty default, you'd say. What is maybe different is the reinforcements towards Logi. Don't always see that. Sometimes, actually, no, those are fine. Yeah, everything is being reinforced this time.
Are you happy?
I'm happy.
Are you satisfied?
Have we got the ones on the red stairs? I'm not quite sure, just checking. No, that's left soft. There you have it. Okay. And then we also have the lines of sight created in the construction wall towards the cache. Those two reinforcements, they got taken off. They got put towards Logi to prevent long angles. Instead, they created new long angles with them by opening up that Logi wall. And I said it before, it used to be 2 walls. It's now 1 wall, where you would normally reinforce one and create angles in the other. That is not going to be the case now.
Yeah, they've got themselves a little bit more of a stretch here. They're more in a position to try and pull out some of the pace that Empire might want to collapse here. And Empire, they're going to see if they can try and dig this bandit out. Alongside the mute jammers, alongside all the hefted utility there, Bosco's going to do his best to try and play around with these exothermics. And obviously with Thatcher off the board, it's just going to have to be a matter of burning it through. They'll get through it, but SSG might have to do something bold and beautiful. The grenade takes care of 2 of them. It's a pop on the far side as Hot and Cold gets caught out, and that's your top of rafters player. So Rampy has to go and reconvene in that situation and slips his way up because you cannot lose that territory. Now as Joystick sends a Gemini replicator through to just get a read on that player. There they are, revealed. There's 2. Haha, you only got 1. But you can hear the breaches coming underneath him. They're going for that rotation here. They have the angle up to catch him. If he tries to hop the hot window, he is otherwise pincered.
Yeah, that's it. The window is the only way out right now, and Dan holding the rotation 2 there as well, so he's definitely going to be shot by 2 different people if Rampy tries to get out. Now, Joystick and Always are in a position close to be able to use their grenades. However, Always is out of grenades, doesn't have any left, and if I'm looking at it, yes, we should still have 2 left on Joystick, so probably we'll need some help from Dan to waste these ADSs. May they be there? But Dan is also out. Actually, check. Okay, Shepard is the only one that has flashbangs left. I'm just quickly checking who has any utility of any form, but not needed in the end. Shepard just kills Rampy instead, shoots him right in the head, and a minute is left now. Is Bosco that is rotating back up through the blue area, might be walking into a bit of a repel on the Empire members here. As Joystick is trying to create some verticality as well. Grenade will be tossed in the back of the CCTV area, but that shouldn't be hitting Sky's lens short as well.
Now, 45 seconds. You can see some drone works going on the backside. They're getting a read on where Faults is. They have a rough idea on the player positioning. They've cleared themselves so much space, but they've still got 2 C4s to have to play against. They've still got utility to bait out, and, well, now they've still got 2 C4s, 1 less player, 1 spray, and Always has it covered. It is a flawless to get themselves their second there, and with a very sturdy lockout on CC. This is why we talked about it before. This is why you don't see it too often now.
And I said it as well. This is probably them seeing CC and being like, haha, we love this site. We know exactly how to attack it and perfected it. And it gives Empire their second round here on Club, which is quite necessary, of course. Third one coming in, potentially, question mark? I don't know. We're headed towards CCTV again. That is a question mark.
I mean, we just saw it go away from them. It
was not just. It was like...
yeah. I mean, just in time-wise.
Yeah, but...
It definitely was swept away from them. But, you know, it's the conversation there with SSG is where do they think the disconnect was? Is it the player on the window? Do they think if they went for something a little bit more of a pressure around the windows of gym and bedroom and stopped that position on the CC window to be able to grenade out the far wall, is that going to be the change? Is Rampy going to potentially start up here to offer some support to Hotton so they can't just swing onto him? Is that going to be the change? There's little tweaks. In the minds of SSG, if they make them, suddenly they've offered themselves more support, but most importantly, might be able to take a player of Empire out on the approach that was otherwise kind of safe to do all the steps that they wanted outside of obviously active gunfights. They made sure that they had, or well, whether they made sure or not, they had safety out on that balcony or out on the opposite side.
Yeah, definitely does. As the Bennett wires are again going down, it should be an easy clear for the Empire players if we saw what they did before. They're also both placed next to each other, so literally a single fragmentation will take them both out. That's why sometimes you see them being placed apart from each other. However, if you do that, then you can take them down from the window, at least one of them. So it's a bit of a trade game, right? What do you want? Do you want it to be safe from the impact, from the frag grenades from below, or do you want them to be safe for a player that's potentially playing from above? And there's Rampy again to be picked up. It's Dan to use the skeleton key potentially to open up, and the C8 right after to land the kill. Oh, from below.
From below. Well, that will be a drone where they had a call. Dan made sure the skeleton key opened up that loose player, and they've lost Rampy. They've lost that potential flex around the map to try and apply some pressure elsewhere. We saw him rotate into the dropped spot by the smoke earlier, and this time none of that. He'll be watching and waiting from underneath. Talking of, pressure comes across the bow of Lounge. They're looking to see if they can dig their way into the bottom of Garage and then try and take out that walkway player. They know that that's that corner position for the hold on the top, and while some reverse fishing is on the cards, Joystick demonstrates there's multiple ways to get this popped open.
He's going to bend the trick.
He's going to go for it, but you assume that...
No, it's too late. They will open up. Yeah, he just tried one. He thought he might have been able to quickly get Shepard as he opened up, but Shepard waited for a couple of seconds there to see if he would be active, and indeed, deemed to be active. Always, I believe, is trying to get a grenade in from below as well. Yes, he did, but wasn't able to hit anybody either. A lot of grenades being used here by the side of Empire, and Joystick now ready at the bottom of the red stairs to push up. It's just that one barbed wire that will slow him down and give Skies the information that he's coming. That one barbed wire is going to be that little bit of safe ground as he does start sneaking up right now at the meantime here. Sky seems to be aware as he swings, and Houghton will be able to pick up the first kill here in the garage. Flashbangs are coming in, however, that means he's completely blind. The grenade will be following up right after as well. That bounces up on him, but misses the opportunity. Scyther, however, will land the kill.
42 seconds, though. They've done much better at wasting the time on the approach now, and Empire have a little bit less to work with. And, well, Scyther has everything to work with. A great take all the way from deep across the front of the site. There is a door return. Fultz is able to entirely cave that corner. And now with Skies stepping himself up onto the top, they're going to see if they can try and loop this C4. It's a bait and a play, and pulls it out. Backed off, and no more in pocket apart from an impact, so it's going to be a swing. Just misses that first, and there's a response from Dan. They have it covered. Fultz over the top is going to go for the cover here. 8 seconds and 2 other players. It's a post-blood, and it's a double for Fultz to make it a quad. And that is an SSG round, and that is a bit of gesturing.
I wonder where the cover was. I mean, I did see one on the balcony, but somehow able to pick up both the kills. And SSG, they managed to lock it off with a 4-2 instead of a 3-3 that was inbound. What a 4K that was. That should have been an Empire round. It was almost perfectly played by them again. But Fultz just manages to get 4 kills through. Doubles it in a round here, and you have it, you swing it, he goes for it. Pre-fire will be able to land it, and then the second one as well. Shepard tried to swing out and instantly return the favor. But it is SSG that wins it. It's Fultz that wins it. And it's Church Arsenal that will be chosen first by the side of Empire to start their defense on.
Hey, remember that thing that SSG likes to do?
Yeah, what do they like to do?
Oh, they like to just pull off big 3Ks and 4Ks.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
We had this conversation as we were walking away from the earlier game with Parker and Pengu, because our games ended at roughly the same time.
Yeah.
Where he said, we hear this a lot that throughout the whole series is pop moments, because that's what SSG keep doing. Regardless of how long a series is, there's so frequently these 3Ks and 4Ks that just entirely put themselves into the setup, and
it must be so annoying to play against. Well, back then I called it the Rampy insurance, but this time it's Fultz that goes for the 4K here. And I mean,
all of them have the capability.
That's it. All of them have it. And you mean Houghton is capable of doing it. Rampy, Bosco, Fultz, and Skies, all of them. That is Scyther just living through that reinforcement there, not taking a single point of damage. That is.
It was it was either timed to perfection,
respectable play,
or that was a terrifying moment for him.
Yeah, I wonder what he was shouting at that point in time. Either way, they'll open it up quickly there, so unable to get the kill, but actually no, they won't open it up quickly. It is the mute jammer in place, so
a little bit
has
higher.
To be replaced a couple of times here, or to the side. It's one of the two. There we go. Little opening will be made, and now they could go for an upside down repel potentially. Actually, you might not be able to hit that. It really depends on if you can find the right angle or not.
They have the Valk Cam in there to support him as well. They have just a little bit more utility. They obviously have that popped open now, which gives them just a little bit of that more control. And, you know, it's this thing of where we talk about how SSG has that extension. They have themselves all what is offered, and Hot and Cold has always his number. And you look at that extension now that's been cut off. Instantly moving their way in. That red player has to get out of there for everything else that they had. They have nothing else really at that point, so they're going to pull themselves back. They still see force, a bit of cover and a bit of support otherwise, but all the players have found themselves all the way home. The pre-play C4 on the swing round as well against the Sledge might be able to prove effective. It's sometimes you see a buck broad instead, but it's also about timing and intel, and that's something that they always have.
Yeah, for sure. There's something they always have available to them. 1 minute 20 on the clock. Is it enough time for SSG to make their attack stick? I think it could be. I think there's definitely enough time here. As they do have that 1 minute advantage. They do have, of course, a lot of control already. There's no roamer currently out there. It's just Scyther that is looking to go aggressive right here, but he gets stunned. So he's forced to fall back. I'm not quite sure if the hatch has already opened up into blue. Doesn't seem to be the case. Otherwise, he would have been punished for it. Actually just opened up as he passed there. So Scyther will escape with his life.
Joystick is waiting for the pressure to come down. 50 seconds, but SSG can work quickly when they need to. The point already long since proven. Rampy, he's going to start smashing his way down Kitchen and seeing what else resides underneath as Bosco goes for the slow creep onto dirt. They've spread themselves out. They've got a lot of depth to their push, but there's a rotation coming up blue. There's a bit of a push and a fight back there onto Lounge from, I believe, Joystick. He's going on an adventure here to see if he can strike back as there's 20 seconds left. There he is, and this could be huge as he goes for the swing here. There's the player, and Rampy is taken out of it just before things start to hit ahead. They're able to drop a player. The push comes onto the site, but Dan rebuffs it. There's a hot drop there. Straight instantly into the firefight, but he can't quite get the connection as they rotate their way back round. Fultz doesn't have a lead in and doesn't have a curious way through the site. All the questions posed are answered. And no more curiosities are left.
Perfect flank there, actually, at the right timing. Able to pick up Rampy. Suddenly the whole blue pressure falls away, and there's only a couple of spots left that the Space Station members can come from. And it shows a bit of chaos in their push as well, because suddenly you lost the whole aspect of it. As Joystick confirms that kill, he quickly falls back, and suddenly everything is coming down from the main stairs and, of course, the motorcycle hatch. And Empire to bring it back a little bit closer. 3-4 currently. Just other quick fun fact they have over the last 12 months not lost Clubhouse a single time against SSG. So I doubt that they'll try and start doing that now. Something big just happened.
Something massive just happened. And it's the thing when you cast next to our wonderful colleagues from EUL, Ace and Dez, is you'll hear them. But also when they're casting a Latin American team, you'll hear that as well. So we'll get an update. What's the update there?
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Cover your ears if you don't want to know.
TSM has won with a 2-1 map score there. So well played to them. They proceed.
NA
goes through.
You're doing well.
At least in one of the games. We don't know about this one yet. We might send one home to the lower bracket.
I mean, we'll have to see. If it's a home, it's a home no one wants to be in right now.
Unless you were at 4th place and you managed to creep up to the 3rd place. Never mind. 5th place to 3rd place. 4th. Nah.
Maths
Try again. 5th place to 4th place at the last day of the groups. I think then you're more than happy to be there instead of when you're playing home. There we go.
Yeah, that's like the one. That's the one situation. Okay, Monty. Let's get into you as you're about to get into your way onto site here. You think this is going to be the drive onto the top of CC. They have, I don't know if it's a cautionary fear. You can see how far away Rampy is. Whether they've got the reveal that there's a player on the far side with a drone and they want to see if they can pick that up or not. You can see Houghton was sort of gesturing to that exchange, and Rampy's off on his own job here trying to find Dan, who's rotating his way actually back up from where he was before on the far side of the map. Now it's sort of driving that control underneath. We saw how powerful that play can be from the pockets of Empire. It's going to be the same here, but Joystick's about to meet a man mountain sooner rather than later, combined with the stuns of Fultz that might come through after he's done a little bit of busy work here underneath the wall to get it open. Apart from that charge.
Ooh, there we go. Shepard quickly puts one back up, and that might actually catch an exothermic. Let me check. Skies only has one left, so I'm not quite sure if he used one on the actual garage door.
Yeah, he did.
He has. All right, so
he was if Shepard had waited like
half a second,
it would have been his. So SSG still have that utility to work with. They're going again. They're picking it up. They're dropping it down. That one has got a bandit trick, a classic.
Yeah.
It's your favorite milkshake from when you were a kid, and Hong Kong doesn't like the taste of that. Smoke forced back. The Monty isn't quite able to get a dig in here onto the top, and that's twice they've been rebuffed, but losing the exothermic is a huge blow. Sure, they have those Selmas. Those can be tricked out. That's the band in a locked-in position. They have to try and force their way here against Joystick, who's still in a power position. Because even if you get that CC breach open, if you do not have the rafters, there's really, you're in a really tricky situation where you just try and got to force the fight.
That's it, Ryan. As soon as Houghton starts moving through, then the call will come through for Scyther to toss a smoke all the way through the door, through the window, up towards the staircase there, and to try and take him out. There he comes. He's pushing through. I think that we might see the smoke canister being tossed in very soon. Flashbangs are coming in, so is a grenade. Joystick still lifts somehow, though, as the pressure is truly rising here. Rampy picks him up. That's the entry kill, and Houghton now is going to be close on those rafters, on that window. There is an opening they can work with here, but he only needs a single point of, a tick of a smoke for him to lose his life.
Shepard's pulled himself over to construction window. They're going to see if they can find a way in as they start to try and crack down. Hot and Cold's going to go be a door. He's going to see if he can just lock off the rotation of cash. The smoke canister pops off and puts Sky so low. And now Fultz is going for a creep up red. They have to try and get rid of that smoke player, and it comes against them. Fultz gets dropped, leaves him down, picked up on the trade, and they're going to see if they can stick it. They just need to try and make a connection here. A big LMG over the top, but there's a door right in the way. Behind them, Dan should have the pickup. They can't quite get the lockdown, but the post is down, and it's just a flood back in from Empire. The positioning of the diffuser was a clever change, but Dan with the loop back round, the flank on the flank, comes through for Empire.
Indeed, there was one man still in that construction trying to deal with the Monty, and as soon as Dan came up from the back, the Monty realized, I need to start walking back now, because if I stay here, I'll just receive a bullet in the back from the MPX, and that will end me here as well. And Empire now put themselves up 4-4, despite, in these last two rounds, missing the opening kill. A lot of time was being wasted. An exothermic that got tricked as well by a bandit, not per se because it was being placed down as soon as the exothermic detonated, but because of the bandit got placed down and Skies couldn't cancel the animation anymore as it sat through at those final half a second or something, and it instantly gets zapped out. Jim will be chosen next as Empire continues their rotation. Even though they keep losing the opening kill, they somehow managed to bring it back time and time again. Round 7, it was a late flank that suddenly relieved all the pressure to come down from Blue. In round 8, it's always that manages to put up a triple kill with Den that comes up from the back as well to retake the side in a 2v3 manner.
Now, we talked about the tertiary sites before. We talked about the fact that on Club, you're sort of expected to take 2 of your attacks, generally, very vaguely as a number in this sort of setting, in this sort of international play. So this is it. This is the one that probably, out of all the rounds we've had so far, the 2 on this turn and a half that has the most weight right now for SSG. And they've proven that they can take this well. They were obviously, they only took 1 of their attacks against Na'Vi in the entire half, but that was their first attack onto Gym Bedroom. That was their first claw in to those locations. And with the Bandit on the board, you assume he's not going to be able to pull off the tricks that he did before, especially without Castle as well, the limitations of that swinging on the far side.
Now, Black Eye gets taken out, so there was one located, was one tossed down, but a drone on the roof was able to see it fly through. Of course, with the recent changes, or basically changes we had this year, you could choose to stay on your drone rather than get kicked off it, which means that these Valkyrie cams that get tossed out at the moment, that is going to be just too late. He was about to try and go for the trick there, Shepard, but he's unable to find that exothermic charge. But to continue the point, it is harder now to get these Valkyrie cameras outside because people can stay on their drones and just spot them out as they fly in.
All right, SSG, you've been able to start getting stuff opened. Cracked on the far side, but haven't really thrown yourself dedicated to try and get rid of Joystick and Scyther, who are actually picking up utility, pulling the shield back, and maybe going to reconvene and restructure on the site itself. Potentially on the bed, no, even wider as There it is. This is what I talked about. It's going to be pretty tough to be able to hold onto that without the lock-in. The C4 doesn't catch a player outside. They'd long since rotated off, and one of them even pulled themselves onto the roof to escape. Hodden puts the pressure onto the window of Jim. They have themselves locked in and crossed over, but now they've got to see if they can try and pull a bit of control of logistics.
Let's actually check in, because Houghton is now on that highway, of course, is quite vulnerable for a potential run out from the CCTV window. And while Scyther is still there, there was an SSG member that was holding him off at that very given moment. Fultz is playing on the balcony out here, trying to waste some time. And the run outs are attempted right now. We'll probably call, hey, it's clear, even though it is not quite yet. Scyther decides to go for a rotate out. It's just Fultz holding this, trying to provide some support to Houghton, who's carrying that diffuser and thus is so important in his given moment. But a sort of impact here could actually be huge as well. Spots one, goes for a second, but he doesn't quite get the kill. Bosco gets down, and Houghton has the opportunity to go for the pickup.
Dan is able to find Rampy in the meantime. They tried to put pressure onto the side at the same second, and Fultz doesn't quite get the full connection with a little bit of a swing out there of Joystick, who now fully knows that there's a player here stuck in a 1 versus 1, but with 30 seconds, as I said before, but it's the vice versa time. Our time works for us as defenders. Hot and Cold's going to see if he can get this diffuser dropped right in the middle. Shepard is entirely caught out by Bosco on the side, but Joystick wins the fight on the far side. Goodbye, Houghton. He's off down below, downstairs. We'll see you later. Joystick, in the meantime, is able to at least find Bosco back. They have 2 vertices, 2 sides, one underneath and one just out on the balcony for the swing. It's so exposed. This kit, this diffuser, and the 3 remaining players are going to have to try and find a way to get themselves back through. Houghton's watching this rotation. He's going to make sure it's locked in, so Dan goes for the slow creep and crawl below. They have to cover a bit of noise, and there it is. Just sees the hand, and the cover comes through. It's theirs. Now the diffuser's being held, but it is locked in. Empire complete their 3-site rotation with about 3 seconds to spare, and they pull ahead of SSG.
What a retake that was. For a second I saw Joystick running down, but then also coming back up, and that was the call, of course, when the other rotation from the Valkyrie came through to hunt down the player in Billiards. They knew exactly where they were, and a tactical timeout is being called right now, which I only can assume. Or at least I only assume they're calling it tactical timeout because the game has been put on pause on my right monitor, and I assume it will be, yes, there we have it, Space Station that is going to be calling it. Because 3 times now they have had the opening kill. 3 times, in the end, Empire somehow managed to bring it back. And that is something that seems to be hurting them a little bit here. 2 more rounds and Empire find themselves on a map win, and yet again wouldn't lose. Clubhouse versus Space Station Gaming.
The tag timeout now. The tag time to have a conversation. This wasn't anything that they took in their showdown with Na'Vi, but obviously they opened on their attacks on Na'Vi, and even though they went 1-5, for them, they knew when they got onto their defense, it would be a bit of a lockout here. Empire being able to complete a triple, well, that's a little bit worrying, because after the start of a 4-2 at this rate, we'll see if there's something that they can sort of bring to the piece. What else can they throw down on this? Because as they said it themselves in the interview, the post-game earlier, they started slow. And that's something that they've been working on. They are aware of it being a bit of a problem, getting into series with a little bit of a more lackluster pace. And I guess it's that sort of unfortunate situation now is their map is up first. And if they're starting slow on Club, if they're not quite hitting their final form here, next they go to their opponent's map, Kafe, which is a very good Team Empire map, and if they drop Club the same way they dropped their first map in the previous showdown, they don't have the joy of being on their home turf to carry them.
No, for sure not. And that is, of course, going through their minds right now, as well as Empire yet again will set themselves up. They're headed towards the church. The last time around, it was also an advantage for the side of Space Station Gaming. However, Joystick snuck up the new blue stairs, came into stock, and managed to pick up Rampy, who was about to be putting up the pressure from the blue side to really complete the circle, to make sure that there was pressure from any given moment and any given point upon the Empire defense. And as soon as that kill came through, it was a bit of chaos in the final execute, and Empire, of course, had to only focus all their guns on those 2 different entrances. And that was successful. They managed to pick up that round, they managed to pick up the kills, and now they'll find themselves back at church. And I think a big change I would like to have is to finally pick up the entry kill, because they have been unable to do that so far on the defense.
I think that's it as well, is they're not quite able to find that loose player that they sometimes had on their earlier showdowns. Empire, they're either having that cover, they're having that support, or they're just a little bit out of reach and out of touch. of the Intel game being driven here. The Flores could offer them that little bit of pace as they get themselves set up to see if they can get control of the corridor outside kitchen and limit the play. They're not wasting any time. It's pre-fires, it's quick clears, and it's clarity over the top 2 floors. They know that they need as much as possible to dig out the utility of the site. That's where the Flores drones will start to kick in. That's where we'll start to see that full push against those barbs, against those other locations, and just pull something out of their hold.
Scyther quickly checking on the dirt, sees there is nothing there, and well, whilst he stays there, it's actually SSG that will put up some pressure from the blue area. It is one RC Rotera that gets used. It just gets a barbed wire here, but a second one will shortly follow. Actually, it goes down the oil pit to see whether or not it is clear. We'll confirm that, so a drop could be on its way. If it wasn't for Joystick playing close around the corner, he has the opportunity to swing as soon as you drop, and all the same goes, of course, for the staircase out there. Skies opens up on that hatch, at least a bit more pressure will be upon Empire.
That's it, the 2 drones in the second. Well, it didn't get fully stopped, but it didn't reach its intended target. It was looking for things at bottom of oil, didn't quite get the full connection with the barbed wire that was ahead of it because Joystick went for the swing. So, getting that blue hatch open, it limits the play that he can do. They still might need those drones elsewhere though, so they're going to start working on the other structure. Get these hatches open, get your angles down, cut off the movement of Empire, and then try and find some results. There's still those Banshees. There's still those screams on all of the drops in the corners, so there's still some utility for Houghton to see if he can get rid of. You can see the Flores drone dropping immediately down kitchen hatch and looking for, well, nothing. A Maestro cam was well prepared and well ready to deal with anything that might try and get it there on the far side.
Just wondering if they're going to be able to get this take pull off here on the SSG side. There's a lot of them ready to go for a jump in here. Yokais are currently being spotted out, and as they see no one is actually deep inside the armory, they might just try and go and for the bet of it. Shepard, he's hiding inside church. He's trying to play with those yokai drones when it's necessary, and his hot and cold is getting a drone around the corner. It's actually Phils that cannot land the kill. But he will be pushing down. He will be pushing into blue here. And as the flashbangs come in from his teammates here, he hopes to pick up the kill onto Scyther, who is quite close. He picks up the first as Skies goes for the plant. But they at least try and fight back on the Empire side of things.
Yeah, Fault using that LMG for all it's worth. Pre-fires and angles. Shepard is entirely locked out. Goes in his drone and cameras, hoping the cover comes through. Dan is going big. Gets a double, but couldn't quite get to the one to stop the diffuser in time. A 2 versus 3. And SSG, they have some time and some control. You can see a bit of a rotate coming round off the side of dirt where they're going to try and get themselves into kitchen within the remaining timer and trust that the 2 players they have. And now they've got the vertical control as well. The big rotation and the pre-fire to sort of say, we're here now, you got to deal with us too. In the meantime, we got your mate. It's just hot and cold. Left sort of standing on the far side of blue with Dan on the fight itself, finds it above, can't quite get the full connection with Skies. Getting in, getting the diffuser down, and getting out of there.
That's how we're supposed to do it, right?
I'm still amazed by how we saw Shepard just take the gunfight with the entire magazine and said, I'm out of here. Goes prone on his drone, see if he can still stop it. He's like, I'm not going to win this gunfight. I'm just going to see if I have utility left in a place where I can buy our team some extra time. Not the case in the end. And SSG, they win their 5th round as well, which puts us all up even now. 5-5. And Empire, after they have just lost Church, they decide to go to CCTV and see if they can pull off that defense yet once again. As we move on, we do see the Warden that will be pushed in. It is the Flores as well that makes an entrance here on the side of Hot and Cold yet once again. We just saw it as well. A lot of utility, of course, taken out, and potentially they will try and do the exact same yet once again. Through the drone on the plateau, maybe to get rid of Shepard if he tries the bandit trick, you know, go in a bit of tandem there, get rid of the bandit wires, make sure that no new ones are placed.
The tack time outworked wonders for SSG. It was able to pull them around after they weren't able to get anything, and it was a very well put together round to go for the sudden throw down. They knew where they needed to be, obviously forcing Joystick out and then an LMG that, as we said, SSG love a good LMG. And from that point onwards, it was tricky for Empire to try and bite back in to the push. They were sort of muscled out of their positions and muscled out of being able to lock in the side itself. As I said, they're still rotating off to CC. They're still going to see if they can try and make things work elsewhere. There's 2 rounds before we find ourselves... Oh, goodbye, Bosco.
That is an opening kill, finally, on the side of Empire. So it's a good one. Hibana out of the way. Just the exothermics left now to open up. So they're really going to make sure that there's no trickery going down here from Shepard. And they're going to do that with these RC Roteros. They're going to try and get them through the drone hulls here. Scyther might be able to just spot this out. No, he will not. And both of them will be taken out. Oh, no way! Skies! He just lost his exothermic to a wall that hasn't been cleared yet. And now Shepard goes for the second. Is he going to get both? No, no, no. Skies pulls off, for now at least. Knows that he cannot push through with it yet. It's only just a singular one left here. A singular bandit wire he has available. But Skies was a bit too early on placing the first one. And as a result, he lost that one. Flashbangs are being tossed in now, so Houghton really wants to put up that pressure. As Fultz takes a lot of damage, actually, from Dan from the side of the construction. And now they don't feel so safe anymore.
They tried to go for the alternate take, and they tried to see if they could put the pressure on the backside, but Dan sort of met them. Skies was finally able to get the wall open with the last sliver of hard destruction they have. They don't have the width of the swing, though, against the player on the rafters, and that's the tricky situation. Because now, if they want to try and take that fight, they have to throw themselves into more of an uncomfortable situation. The player behind there doesn't have to go too fast, so they're going to see if they can get lounge control. Push their way up from underneath. Make sure that nobody's going to go for the flank on the opposite side.
That's it. They need to find a way in, and this grenade might be it. If it finds Shepard, that is going to be a kill, but no, does not. Just almost did it, though. A jump in from Houghton will be able to find him, however, as Dan quickly refrags. It's still a 2-on-4 situation. It's still a favor here for the side of Space Station, for the Empire, not Space Station Gaming, mind you. And Empire are looking to push themselves to a first map point here. As Skies is looking with his drone. They wanted to go quick, but failed, but now they need to make up for it. He needs that information. And Rampy, you said it yourselves, they need to go for a bit of an uncomfortable play here. And they need to push through that garage door if they want to get rid of Always.
That's it. Always is safe from anything on the second story at this point, so it's this. An aggressive swing round. Rampy has no grenades in pocket, sees the tip of a beret, but not for very long. Always either side to a piece. And the 3-stage players, and you assume the 2 at home are doing COVID distanced fist bumps. Well, not at home, in the hotel room. Through the wall.
Right,
like,
through the wall.
Assuming that their hotel rooms are connected, like they hit the wall. 6-5, Empire. On SSG's map, Gym Bedroom is where they think they can lock it off. They don't want to go back to church, even though it was their first take, and to be fair, they lost it the last swing round, so instead going to go for the extension here. I haven't seen a bandit this successful in a long time.
No, actually not. They managed to get 2 exothermics, but mind you, the first one wasn't really tricked. It was the RC that went in.
It was.
Skies puts it down, but the RC didn't explode yet, so loses it as a result. They wanted to go quick, as I already said. They didn't want to give Shepard any opportunity of opening up, and as a result, well, that's where we ended up in the end. But hey, 6-5. Empire are 1 round ahead. And the last time they played here, it was a 3v3 retake coming through perfectly as well, which is something that they need to make sure doesn't happen again on the side of Space Station. Empire, of course, they also want to make sure that that doesn't really happen, and then this time around decides to, you know what, we cut it quite close the last time when it decided to reinforce in the middle of the round, so let's just do it pre-round this time. Use the prep phase for it. And as that wall is now closed, surely it will be opened up again by either X-Kairos or by an exothermic charge. But as that drone gives out a spot to Dan, they know there is a roamer downstairs, and that could be dangerous.
Yeah, Dan's getting those cams set up. He's going for that bit of a stretch and a range, and obviously we've seen him play rotates before, 14-6. And for a player who throughout this tournament has actually come into this game as the lowest rated player on Empire, has had an absolute scream of an opening map here and really been able to step in to SSG. Fultz isn't quite comfortable in stock, so he's going to get himself out of there and go for the rotation round on the opposite side, potentially trying to apply some pressure alongside the rest of the team to that strip side towards the bedroom itself, and maybe try and cut off some rotates before the rotates, well, become pointless.
Sky's on the roof now. It's gonna open up. CCV, no, actually decides not to. Maybe up to the, no, construction, no, okay. Still some hesitation going on what will be opened up exactly, but his arch nemesis is here. it's Shepard who's managed to make his life very difficult so far. And he spots out that electricity and he's like, all right, I'm out. I'm not going to try it.
the mute gem there. Stops the Flores drone being able to get in. They went for the take they had before, and they're going to need to try and find a different way. As I said, without the castle, it becomes a bit trickier to sort of play against that, because usually they'll just swing onto the highway window. They'll put the pressure straight across the front of that, straight across a bandit that tries to get in there. And well, with that mute gemmer there, they can't go for their direct approach. They could try and get a grenade in, and Joystick's going to see if he can be that response on highway via... Oh, nothing, unfortunately. They're a bit too far away. I think they dropped it and actually then just dropped off the front. Yeah, Hot and Cold is now back in and amongst the vehicles.
And managed to open it up. A grenade came through, and in the end they open it up either way. There is a bit of verticality being created onto the actual bathroom now, which forces Shepard to play a bit more safe. Fultz will be coming up the back stairs, and the question here is, are the Empire players aware of it? Grenades are being tossed in, a bit of damage is being done, and Shepard is truly under pressure. Rotates out of that bathroom. Fultz still sneaking up on the main stairs here. As soon as he fires that first shot with the LMG, they know exactly where he is and what the pressure is coming from. And surely Empire will have a response ready. But as drones are coming through, it is them that rotate around many times as well to try and get into the best possible position that they can be. And Fultz is still hiding there. Rampy gets the opening kill, however, and that might be the starting shot for SSG.
Well, there's still structure, but look at how they forced the Empire players out, and they're not giving anything over on that balcony as they almost suffered a drop before. A deep dive and a brave one there by Dan, going in and getting in the bedroom itself, but taken out by Rampy. They didn't quite have the comfort that they had. 20 seconds, though, and the plant is being put down. Shepard has an angle. Shepard's able to get a huge take there. Always is stacked up. They need to recollect the diffuser, see if they can get the stick on the second time. Always has a call, and Shepard has faults. It's a swing back round. It's a second, not quite a connection. In the main stairs is a bit tricky with Houghton getting one more. In the post plant, it's a close fight there on the shower. They can't quite get the connection over the top and under, and round they go. It's a 2 versus 2, but one is far underneath. Scythe is going to offer some cover and support. They're going to see if they can try and get this long-armed before they're able to get into position to swing. The Wamaya's doing everything to watch, and Scythe slaps it. No, and there's the cover! Empire take Clubhouse from SSG.
And what a retake that is. It's a 3-on-3 again. It's the plant that is coming through. And they just retake it yet once again. I don't know what it is, but Empire have completed 3 retakes, 3 times when the diffuser went down and were able to disable it. And that's a very good start to a series here on the Clubhouse. The first map is theirs. And soon they'll move on to Kafe.
A little bit tricky there for SSG. Obviously 1 round away from securing OT, and then at that point, who really knows? Whoever gets the defensive swing, I'm not entirely sure how that works. Well, they're likely the team to take it there. Empire just did that one step better to be able to steal that map from their opponents.
That's it, right? The retakes continued to carry them across right there. 4 of them were, well, 4 rounds. It was SSG that managed to get the plan down. In 3 of them, it was Empire that managed to just retake it with a 3-on-3 or something crazier on the board. And in the end, that will really hurt. I mean, if you look at it, 7-5 scoreline here. If any of them would have gone the other way around, it would have been OT right now. If 2 of them would have gone the other way around, it would have been a Space Station game. And we would have been headed into the second map with at least a little bit more safety for their side of things. But for now, it is going to be Empire that is leading map number 1, just like Na'Vi was, however. Which is going to be the tricky point right here. Is SSG going to be able to fight back yet once again? Or is it going to be Empire that lock it off with a 2-0?
I don't know, but we'll find out after a quick break on Dostoyevsky.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 6th Invitational. It is map 2 about to get underway between Empire and SSG. The first one was won by Empire as they continue their tradition of not losing Clubhouse towards Space Station with a 7-5, however. He got quite close. 4 plants from Space Station, only 1 translated into a round. And the same can be said, I think, about the opening kills. Yeah, 5 of them in that half went to Space Station. So it's did well on the side of Empire.
A lot of retakes. A lot of repositioning, and we can sort of see it here, split across the board. It was a lot of drive there from Dan, +8. And as I sort of pointed out before this, statistically coming into this game, he was the player from Empire that hadn't really popped off. And although all of them, apart from Shepard, had a positive KD, a rarity amongst all the teams that are competing at this tournament. Obviously, Shepard's playing the support role. Dan was +1. He was a 0.99 rating. So saying that he was the lowest is still like, you know, it's still 0.99 for other teams. That's their best player.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sort of split here, is to see him have these huge games that we know he's capable of, dropping a 1.51. You know, when Joystick, who has generally been a high-rated player, it's that sort of good moment for Empire fans.
Yeah, it's also funny to see actually 7-5 and every single KD is positive on the Empire players, whereas there's only 1 member on SSG who managed to drop a positive KD, especially with how close it was, a 7-5 there. So overall, Empire probably very happy that they picked up that round. And as the SSG players are quickly reading up on the next strategies, or just on their favorite book, it's either of the two. Not quite sure. I assume that first one. It is Empire that is just sitting relaxedly, waiting for the game to start here on Kafe Dostoyevsky. I said they're already 1-0 up because it has a Russian name in it.
You think that's a make or break? Then why didn't Space Station?
Well, Clubhouse is in Germany.
Yeah. So it's
closer to Russia.
Okay.
See?
I didn't study geography. You know what I studied?
Out.
I studied Rainbow Six Siege.
Have you now?
A lot. I like how this is how. Is this how we know we're going into the game? You can see at the top.
This is how we.
Oh, this is cool. I quite like that. That was like breaking the 4th wall.
It's like perfectly with our screens as well. Normally you don't see that because you just go straight into Mapfly. Normally speaking. There we go. Yes, Kafe. But we start off with the bans, and we can give you small spoilers as SSG have chosen their first ban. It will be Thatcher to be removed.
Okay, Empire leading here on your attack once again. SSG opted to start on their defense, and that makes sense. Dostoyevsky can be a very intricate map. It can be very complex, and it requires a lot of coordination. Empire with a Ying removal there. They don't want to play against that across the top floor. They don't want to suffer that barrage. Thatcher is standard. Valk's gone too. It was part of the sort of arsenal of Empire, sure, but it's part of every team's arsenal, especially on Dostoyevsky, where if it's let free,
yeah,
it's a nightmare, those camps.
Definitely so, and you know, some teams actually have an IQ in their lineup every now and then, but not every team has that. And if you give them that Valkyrie to play with in that moment and time, it is not going to be working out too well for you. As you said, especially not on Kafe.
All right, reading room and fireplace. We know fireplace and mining, right? You're going to opt the mid floor has become quite a good spot for a lot of teams. They try and drive their defenses in there instead and see if they can structure themselves some control of the top floor, sometimes a roam on the bottom, pushing their way around Brown and reconvening onto the pillar side. It's a little bit more fluid Kafe than it used to be, but it can still be a bit awkward for defenders if you get caught out. There isn't always an option to get out of there. There isn't always an option with cover as well, with that awkward bout of space of Brown. The 3 staircases do offer some maneuverability, but it's also a lot of blind corners you've got to take and trust that they haven't set themselves up ready to take care of you.
That's it. Kafe is that very open map with the many rotation possibilities here that Empire, well, they will love it. They chose this for a reason. They want to finish it off here after they have that first map under their belts. The Gaia shields are being set up, and of course the angles are still being created. I'm quickly looking over to see. Yes, they do have that Jaeger on the board. Just wondering. Okay, yeah, the ADSs are coming in to protect the shield. I was afraid for a second that they might not, because the shield was being put down, but the ADSs weren't there yet.
Now, obviously, they have the Goyas, they have those swings, the castle as well. They're building themselves a hefty structure with the potential to swing out and keep moving. It allows you to sort of set up these little fortresses. And fortresses, well, a fortress was how Kafe was sort of defined in an older meta. And here, you set yourself up with maneuverability. You sort of put a burst, and, well, I'm going to stop talking about that point because it looks like we're having a rush. Here it is, the fight onto Zulu, a spray back to suddenly buy themselves some time. A sort of panic C4, and Shepard's going to see if he can stick it Scyther with the cover, and there's always on the split there. They've been able to get right behind that hefty machinery. Dan has one more, and starters, you mean to go on, lads? Volt swings down the red stairs and gets a pickup here, but they've already left. They have the window and a pre-fire through the corner. Scyther with a double. Bosco is suddenly all that's left. Gets one. Takes the head off of that swing there, but now in mining behind the chassis and with drones setting up as well. May as well use the utility whilst you got it. Head jabs too. And this was really Empire making a statement here. They had a read entirely on where this was, and well, pretty much out of time at this point. Bosco's going to see if he can take anybody else with him. Turns tail to the kit, but otherwise forfeit. Well, Empire, hey, welcome to Kafe, they say, but probably in Russian.
Yes. And as many might know, they literally went for the Rush B strategy here. Mining is the B-bomb site there. Managed to get the plan down quite quickly. Opening frag. It could have been a flawless even if it wasn't, of course, for the final 2 kills that came through. And Empire, they started off strongly. They started off with a rush and they started off with that pace. And right now, SSG is thinking, okay, let's not do that anymore. Let's scratch that one off the list and go to reading room instead.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
Rushes, I mean, rushes from the Russians. They occur. And you get used to them. The cautionary tale about a rush is that it's the communication that becomes a nightmare. And the first time you go through facing that it's a lot of calls happening in a lot of different places. We know of at least 2 different engagements that happened at exactly the same time there. Obviously, the one in Zulu and where the other kill came across, which I think was onto pillars, but I'm not entirely sure, from that window across the bow of the stairs. Either way, it's messy comms, scrappy comms, in and amongst the chaos. It's tough to find yourself. The second time, those calls are clearer because you've already sort of experienced it. You've gone through the manic mania, and you know it's nobody's first time suffering a rush, but first time on a map is sometimes a little bit jarring.
First time in a series as well, as we haven't really seen any of those quick plays over the Clubhouse attacks as well. But it's a good start for Empire. I mean, they just got their first attacking round on the board already. Now they have 5 more normal rounds, you can almost say, to get some more. So they'll more than happily take that. It is, I'm going to say it again, a mistake they can't afford to make later. I said this the previous time, and every mistake possible was being made by Na'Vi. I might have cursed him there. Either way, top floor will be approached first, so the hatches will be opened up, and you can already instantly see it's in more traditional kind of take. We don't see 5 Russians jumping through the windows and trying to get the plant down. No, we just see them opening up the hatches, try and get rid of the utility, and as they do that successfully, it's the first go shield to be removed. It forces Rampy to play a little bit more passively, but with the rotation they have, he needs to be careful, because it could be picked up from the actual skyline if it's being watched. As Empire is trying to flush them through here with that Twitch drone, trying to make some damage happen, they are looking still for their first kill.
Dropped in, top of red, and they start to pitter-patter rainfall their way down the stairs. They're going to see if they can get some solid ground here and go for the bit of width before they start pressuring and putting points onto the board across them. They are looking for those players. If they can at least force them out of position, then they get the clarity of the ground. But SSG can go for those give and will take it back a little bit later plays. And they put them perfectly against Na'Vi, and well, Dan just had a missed opportunity there on Fultz, who was a little bit wide, but he slips away with his life intact. And as I said before, that retake game that Empire did so well and won them Clubhouse, it's not unknown to SSG.
It's definitely not. 70 seconds on that clock. There is still no entry on either side, and that means that Empire needs to make a push happen soon. The time is starting to run out, and they haven't really gotten to their vertical play as of yet. So Scyther now sneaking up on the bars in the perfect position to get that first kill locked in. Stuns are coming through, but knows that no one is actually there at the very first instant, and the drops are coming through the hatches. I think everybody has just fallen back except for a single player on top of the planks. Is Bosco playing close with a shotgun here, about to be swinging as well. But as soon as he tries to go for a bit, he gets picked up. It's the instant trades that come through, however, but still in favor of Empire, as always picks up a kill right after.
Houghton just looks away at the worst possible time there, 30 seconds, and Fultz potentially eyeing up more of a lockdown there on that stair set on the far side. They're trying to crack themselves an angle in the back of reading, whether they open up what sounded like pillars just below and see if they can slip and sliver their way in to get this diffuser down. Rampy, he's about to find a fight here on red. They seem aware of each other, but with 14 seconds, Dan cannot really dilly-dally this cover as Shepard is going to try and stick it. There's a little bit of a fight there that happens on the backside, but there it is. Dan is able to get one. It's just that single player, and suddenly Scyther pops up at the last possible second to get that kill onto a Goyo that really went all or nothing.
Bit of a heart attack there, and indeed he managed to get the diffuser down on the ground. Just was unaware of the Zofia still coming around the corner. And Empire to pick up a 2-0 here. Good start. Yeah, once again, and as the top floor is being picked up now by the side of Space Station, it is Empire that basically escapes with the round. I mean, they went for a plant, they got the cover from the pillar side of things. However, no one was in a position to stop anyone from inside the side itself. A massive oversight, which luckily got corrected quickly by Scyther, who picked up that final kill. That's headed towards the top floor now. There's less worry about people being on multiple floors. I mean, you could still have the occasional player below with a C4 to try and stop the plan from happening. Hot and cold that would be in this instance. But it is generally a more forward and horizontal attack.
SSG, the first two have gone away from them at various different pace. They were so close to that second one, but at the same time, it was still these sort of Hail Mary retakes that we talked about they're capable of. Usually, though, when they were up against Na'Vi earlier on the day, they were a little bit more confident, a little bit more coordinated and controlled, and it seemed like Empire had an idea of the number. Dan was still waiting for that rotator for Jaeger. With 15 seconds left, it's a bit of a gamble to have that player there, and obviously won that fight, then won the cover that came around onto pillars as well. His importance in that position was paramount for two reasons. One, he won the engagement, and two, he obviously knew that that was how SSG wanted to pull it back, and that's an important fact for a team that loves pulling these sort of rounds back.
That's it. Bit of pressure coming down here on the balcony. Don't know what he was actually shooting at there. It's not like there is a camera outside. I don't know.
Ghosts.
Maybe ghosts. Maybe you're seeing ghosts. I don't know. Those Valentine's, not Halloween, right?
Oh, right, true. Keep it then.
Maybe it's
hasn't got time for Valentine's. There's Siege to play.
Gotta play Siege now. Gotta win the 6th Invitational first. As hatches are being opened up, the pressure surely will come down soon after as well. First, Goyo shield already blown up inside of the freezer. It's off your screen, but the second one is still located around the pixel area, and that one is currently being occupied as well. Dan is coming around the corner with that Twitch drone. We'll shortly see as well that there is people out there. That's a disc that he will spot out and kill. Now we'll be jumping right through the rotation, see if there's any other piece of utility there. Smoke does not spot him out. Now probably will be aware of his position as the disc gets picked up, but the grenade drops through and we'll be able to pick up the shield, as both and all shields now have been taken care of.
I mean, that was so clean, and it was that little moment of the Twitch drone just being able to get it under the feet, a bit of a miscrossed path, but there is still a fresh disc that's just been placed on the corner of those brown sulfurs, so one more swing potentially through from that side might go amiss. The fake Gemini is removed off the board. Not the real Iana, but the real Iana is there. In the hands of Joystick, he's looking to try and apply some pressure onto Cigar. More of the players are dropping in. They're getting themselves that width of an angle. They're seeing if they can try and just take out a player and get themselves into a bit of a risky position, but SSG aren't trying to hand them anything. They're not entirely falling back. They know the positions they need to hold, but Skies is trying to stick there for as long as possible. He cannot take, obviously, a usual rotate into bathroom, so instead has to either opt for the white corridor or just this position, and well, he's kind of adamant he wants to stay here for now. Sees the first fight and the pre-fires come his way. Is still going to stick around for now and wait for a swing background on the opposite side. As long as he's there, he's a problem, and as long as he's there, Empire cannot progress.
Rampy is still down below as well, and Skies tries to go aggressive right here. Takes a lot of damage. Joystick actually from the smoke as well, but he gets the kill with the grenade, and that opens it up. That's now the freezer area cleared out. They can push through from the actual wide area and hope to push into planks and potentially lock them out from the back here. It's a rotation to come through that gets caught off, and it's a 5-on-3 situation. A double entry in a plant will be attempted. They have to be careful though. Rampy is coming up from the very back as Saito picks up one more kill. It's only up to him now in a 1v3 situation. Finds the first. Needs to find 2 more if he wants to bring this back for the side of Empire. Spots the head, but actually doesn't register it. And it's going to be Empire that will be locking off that round as well, with a plant and a very clean execute.
That was suddenly violent. That was one of those moments where you were trying to piece together all of the stories that were coming together, and there was the fight that happened underneath, an important win. Rampy, I think, picked up a 2K that round, potentially. There was, yep, there it was in the top right corner, but at the same time, Shepard sticking the diffuser. Fultz almost went big, pulled off one, but then got traded out. If he'd have been able to find that second connection, Empire fall apart. It was sort of 3 different firefights happening in 3 different places at exactly the same time. But Empire just winning out on their ones, having that trade potential of being able to get rid of that opening body with the grenade meant that the eye for the eye, they're the one that's left with the singular eye. Down to mining once again. They're not going to take their tack time out. They're still sort of sitting through this. They think that they'll be able to withstand the storm. I think if they drop this one, then it's time to have a conversation and see if they can reset the pace, because you want to stay in the upper bracket. And before they had a tack time out and they were able to really get their heads into gear.
You want to stay in the upper bracket, and if you win this one, then you definitely need to have a talk and potentially bring it down to kitchen. Last time we were in mining and dining. Of course, it was a rush to come in from the Russians. That we will see that now again as well. No Nomad on the board, first of all, which was an operator they used to guide and make sure that swings wouldn't be as beneficial for the defenders as they could otherwise be. As they see an eye right now on still what seems like a west take. It is not going to be as quick as it otherwise could be, and will potentially focus on that top floor first.
Empire, they're heading their way to the top. They are sort of prepping their angles down here as well. A Gun 6 just popped the castle, I believe, was on that door and that swing round, so they're giving themselves those options for later on, and then it starts above. The pressure on those players, and as I said, you know, you can't really pull off those quick plays twice, but there is a lot of utility to burn through onto the corner of Pixel. It's a big power position, because you sort of need the verticality on this side. It offers itself a lot more than, say, the take and the verticality onto the other library side, and there goes that Goyo, a quick burn and burst, but they're able to pull back, and we know that SSG players can hold on to that longer than arguably they should.
Yeah, for sure, but the first shield has been taken out. There's still a second one out there. I'm not quite sure if there's an extra Gun 6 available for Empire to take out the Goyo shield that's inside the bathroom. Either way, it looks like they'll be pushing in from the piano side of things. And there was a player just shortly right underneath the skylight, has fallen back in the meantime to head towards the bars. And as default cams are being taken care of, this Twitch drone is not going to be able to sneak through. I was going to say otherwise might be able to pick up that Goyo shield. And it seems that Dan is now going to try and attempt that, but also loses that one as Fultz is quite close. So 2 players in a very close proximity. Bosco, that's inside the freezer, is looking over to find an angle on these players of Empire as soon as they start pushing in, and one near the Pixel.
Yeah, maybe didn't expect the second player in that position, but SSG, they've kept themselves alive for this long, and Empire, they're looking for a little bit of an answer here. They're trying to find a way around onto this side push, and it's going to be to try and force that bathroom player. Always finds Rampy. There's obviously still the second player up here, a bit of vertical. Did they just take that C4? My word, Dan! What a connection with a moving object. And, well, that C4 is unfortunately a bit wide there from Hot, and they've been able to do some damage and devastation and get the vertical control, but they have to make use of it. 47 seconds on the board, and now it starts to be a bit of a clear over-reading to see if they can find that loose Goyo of Hot and Cold.
A double entry has been made yet once again. Empire have 35 seconds left. The time is starting to dwindle very shortly here, so they need to find whatever is left in the hands of SSG that they can use to stop these plants with. And I think it will be mainly Skies hiding in this close corner here on the B-bomb site. That is not going to be caught off by any verticalities here. It's Joystick that finds the kill, so Diffuser that gets dropped, but he gets spotted out. The shotgun is attempted from a long-range angle, but a 10-second wallbang comes in from the back. He finds one. Skies needs to go aggressive, misses the first shot, gets it eventually, but always from the back is going to be able to lock it off, and Empire win yet another round.
Skies was so close to pulling off a hell of a play there, moving around the mining gear, dropping the diffuser where he did, and then almost picking up 2 more cleanly without rebuttal. That could have been one of the biggest plays of this tournament so far, but it wasn't, and that is that unfortunate lost there. That is that unfortunate disconnect. 4 in a row now for Empire. 4 times they've been able to lock it down, and it's not always been the cleanest route through. It's not always been as smooth sailing as it could have been. There, they were stumped for a long time trying to find that opener, but suddenly, as soon as they do, they have this sort of confidence and bravado to just throw themselves through, and there it was. About 8 or 7 seconds left, and it could have been a heck of a play, and as I called it, attack pause.
The issue here with Space Station is not per se that, you know, Skies could have picked it up there. He was quite close. But they're dealing with a team that's playing as a unit. As soon as you kill one, there's another one that pops up. You kill that one, there's 2 more that come up from the back. And you just continue going like that. All the Empire players are close to one another. There's no way you kill one and you manage to sneak off, because there's someone that will be there at that given time to shut you out. And well, that is basically how they won that last round. Skies was almost able to sneak away with it after he got those 3 kills, but still 2 left on the side of Empire, and both of them around the corner.
So the tag timeout is done, and we head down to kitchen for the first time in this showdown. And the Nomad has changed out. Was locked for Dokkaebi for a second.
Okay, this might indicate another semi-fast pace rush. I'm not saying directly onto the site, but it might be to get control of Kojak or a VIP, where you use that call to at least distract and get that sound cue to know whether or not they're there, or if they're in the left or right corner of the room, and if they're moving about or not.
Well, there's no better way to immediately undo a team talk than with some aggressive pace.
Exactly.
But at the same time, at this point, Empire, they know what they need to do. They're obviously confident enough for this. Obviously, SSG opted to start on their defense, so they felt like they could put a little bit more of a distance here. And you know, if they find themselves on a 5-1, let alone a 6-0, that makes things very tricky, because then you're looking at having to win, you know, the majority of your attacks. You're looking at having to win exactly the pressures of second pick sites, let alone potentially a first pick site on a defense, rather than just the potential weakest tertiary. Dan is going to see if he can find anything on Coat Room. They have a bit of a stretch out all the way, always knocking in onto small bake and getting that width potentially to a bakery player if there is. There is some players on the roof too. It's a bit of a wide stretch.
It's just a singular person on the site right now. They have one on Code and one on the red stairs, so overall, site pretty weak. They could just manage to storm in. No one in VIP, no one on that back side. So really hope that verticality... Yeah, okay, I was going to say, really hope that the verticality is there. And it is being created still, not completely in place. And as they do start to check this top floor, they'll find out that there is no one out there for now. And they can start pushing towards that first floor. But again, if they do figure out that there's only one person on the site currently, okay, along with some long sight lines that could be challenged from Colt, this could be Empire just deciding to completely bypass everybody and hit the site.
Well, Dan finds hot and cold, and that was an attempt. I don't know if that was a rotate up or a rotate down. I'm assuming based on the position of joystick, a rotate up.
That's up.
And then they've been able to catch him off there, and you know, the Malusi's gone, hot and cold, hasn't quite been able to dig into this game's gone. There's one more for the trouble. Bosco is caught out as well. They'll obviously have access to the cams as soon as they drop down and pick up that receiver and find where the players are, but they've just seen a sliver of one. And you can see already Dan is looking to eye up the pick and the pitch on the far side. Rampy's trying to keep himself alive. He's curious about, well, pretty much every direction at this point, because the pressure could come from multiple different places. A call comes through. Dan gets the vague echoes of that, but as long as Rampy can hold onto this verticality, then those site players are a little bit more safe from a lot of the angles of danger. You can see that there's a bit of a width that might be coming through here to go pressure against Dan and go for something of a retake. It's Fultz, who's just going to sliver his way up, but stops just shy.
Quite confused as to why they're trying to make their way up now. Always is still working on some verticality. They want to fight Fultz out here, who spots out one player, but gets dropped on. Always just takes him out, and Rampy still in the mining area is going to take the fight to Shepard now. He's carrying the diffuser. He cannot afford to die, not with 35 seconds left on the clock, so he will quickly rotate out. Someone else gets expended to try and pick up that kill, as Shepard now needs to drop. It's only up to Skies now, who is in that side. He knows that the drop came through, but the shield is not working with him here. It's 2 players around the corner. He gets the first. There is going to be his second as well, and one pushing right through the hallway. Flashbangs going around the corner. He needs to swing with the shotgun, but he gets swung on himself. It's Joystick that picks it up, and it's Empire with a near flawless round that will be able to take the lead with a 5-0 currently.
They're so chill.
They're so chill about it.
They're so chill about it.
When a LATAM team wins a round, everybody starts screaming. NA, exact same thing. Empire, well, it's another day at the office, I guess. Let's just calm it down, boys. Get the win. After that, we can give each other a high five. That's it.
That's all you need. But it's just clinical. It's so well put together. The way that they're finding out the sort of cuts that they need to make. Obviously, I think the scariest moment they've gone through there was the sledge drop directly onto a player.
I didn't think they expected that to happen.
I don't think either of the two players expect that, but Empire were the ones that were able to stay standing. And yeah, that Alder, it's a hell of a gun, but it is not a quick one to move around in that situation. And close proximity panic, it's not really what it's built for. Mining is going to be our last turn. Mining is going to be our last sort of setup here, and obviously Sky's almost pulled off a heck of a moment previously, but almost as far away from what Empire's been able to do here. They are 5-0 up with a pace that has varied from within the first 30 seconds to all the way down to 3 seconds left. They've made sure it matters. Can SSG just find one way to give themselves an extra life on their attack?
I think this is the scary part as well, right? When you're playing against Empire and they can just either rush you in the first 30 and win the round there, or they can leave it till the last 3 seconds and be just as calm and cold-blooded killers as they are within those first 30 seconds. Like, what do you do against it at that point?
Panic.
What I do know is if Empire proceeds to continue this map like this, I don't think, just a hunch, that any other team in the tournament is willing to play Kafe against them.
Yeah. I mean, okay, some Latin American teams could play a pretty spicy Kafe.
Yeah.
But it is a great Empire map, and they're sort of proving it here. Obviously, we'll get the taste of them on their defense, and SSG, they just got to try and find a way, and if they can get this precious one round and make sure they don't have to flawless on the opposite half. They've come back from a 5-1 down before. But granted, it was on Club. It was on a map that they've lost in this series that almost went all the way, and it's also worth sort of taking into consideration that they did play a long series earlier today, SSG.
They have. They played a full best of 3. I like actually how Joystick was looking at the cam while he was sneaking up just to make sure they have no clue. Is he going to hit the side directly, or is he just going to move up wide? I think he's going all the way up, and he's going to have the opportunity. No, he gets picked up. Hot and Cold is going to save their life. Otherwise, it would have been the death of Fultz.
That was it. Hot and Cold just had that moment, that reaction, whether he knew that that player was there or had a bit of a sniff in the air of it. Either way, that was a huge moment there, because otherwise that player on Pixel was very likely about to be dropped. Always, he's setting himself up and finds a fight and a freebie there. Bosco back to the window just after it got shot open. And well, that's a bit of a blow there. They still have the player outside. Fultz is going for a pistol swing. Can't quite find the connection. A C4 might be attempted here by Hot, but he's kind of thinking about potentially jumping out. There is obviously the Nomad. There's the air jabs, and there's a Rampy. The grenade from Always cooks its way in over the top. They've been able to pull themselves back and swung in there to the fight. Is looking for all of it against the Mozzie. It's pistols at dawn, and well, the C4 is gone at this point. They know they've got a caution about it, and Fultz is throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, out the window.
The aggression is currently off the boards here. SSG is really trying to take the fight to the outside. They remember that game back during the previous 6 Invitational where Cyclops played this map against Empire. They realized, oh, if we don't let them get in the building, we might find some success. As a punch-in right here is going to tell Dan to go for the pre-fire, but he gets picked up instead. It's an injure. But Dan Fultz needs to go outside the building. Will not be punished, at least for now, but his position is well known. So we might see the remaining Empire players get into a position to cut him off later on.
That was it. I think Dan was so low health. He had a second there where they just sort of almost passed right by each other, but the spray and the spray back, to be fair, Fultz wasn't much higher. It's just in that situation, it just takes a scrape and a scratch. Scyther finds one. Fultz is dropped on the rotation background, and a revenge for the earlier kill. Now they're just pre-firing everywhere. There's a mining reveal and a camera on the far side. The fight on the chassis doesn't quite get the full connection for the defender or the attacker. They're dancing either side. Hot and Cold gets it, but now the pressure's coming in either side. A great take. One more!
Hot and Cold!
Hot and Cold pops off when they need him the most, and they have that single round lifeline. One buffer for the next half in their attack on Kafe.
Hudson with the 3 or 4K, I'm not quite sure what it was right there, but he at least saves them around there as he shuts down 3 in a row. I was going to say, that's that first freebie he managed to get. After that, grenade even came around the corner. And just imagine if Fultz would have been taken out before. It would have been a 4v2 with that case. And Hudson just here picking him up one by one. It was a quad kill in the end. And now we're going to Bar. Empire deciding to go up to that top floor first. Have 4 rounds of an advantage, but if I quickly hop back over to the previous game we did, which was Na'Vi versus SSG, yes, a 5-1 lead for Na'Vi as well, which then turned into not a single round won afterwards.
But that was
the attack.
That was the other side. That was the other half. That was Empire now going into their defense rather than Na'Vi succeeding off the back of theirs. And that was on Club, not Kafe. Not a place where Empire have been able to really put down a statement for how back and forth the last map was. A 4-2 on the half, all the way to a 7-5 by the end. It almost went there. It played all regulation rounds. Here, Empire just need 2. Just need 2 to try and connect here on their defenses. And, well, they're going to see if they can start it on the top floor of Bar.
And that's it. The top floor of Bar is where they choose to go first. And there is a pretty default way to take this. Often start at red, then slowly into piano and cigar. And after that, you hope to push the white staircase with the hallway, of course, and the bar itself. Very little times do you see any variations of it. So C4 ready to go. That is going to fly right over, but it's way too late, and it's not going to be able to pick up Rampy. As a result, he will live to fight another day, and 1 C4 less to worry about.
Yeah, Rampy was doing it with the safety of the buck range, so he could take that at a more awkward angle. They couldn't quite get the swing onto the C4 they wanted to, and you know, they also went for the one that Dan was directly under first. Couldn't quite get himself swung around. Fultz putting pressure on the bottom of white. Let's see if he can start popping his way up here, but they're also going to be met halfway, and there's a Rudy with a bit of a white swing. Scyther tried to say hello. And, well, he's instantly told, no, not yet. We'll have to fight a little bit later, and he's pulled back. Fultz has been able to take a little bit more ground, and Fultz has been able to take a little bit more body. Joystick dropped around reading, trying to swing his way through, and that's a verticality now he's got to pay a bit of an awareness to.
For sure, Fultz watching from below as well, watching the hatch, seeing if he can maybe eye up a kill here. Puts down that Claymore, which will give away his intentions there, surely. It has been heard by the player right next to it, who have rotated out in the meantime. By the way, Empire is defending this from the piano side of things rather than the bar side of things. So a repel in could totally happen on Sky's behalf, who is with that diffuser in that area.
Dan, he's heading his way along white, and there's obviously a player out there at the moment in time, or at least off to the side, and he's just checking if that's entirely being watched. There's obviously some structural work being done underneath. They're clearing everything out for an East take. They're making sure that all of it is done, and it puts them in a very tricky situation.
Yeah, as the repellent seems to be nearing in, Skies wants to go for a diffuser plant, but he decides to go for a bit of a rotate around. They're not quite sure whether or not they can go for it yet. A double repel up on that window now as they are looking to see and find the entry. Grenades are being tossed in to see if someone is inside the freezer. Well, there is, just not in that angle that you just checked. We didn't see the Maestro further on, but Bosco will be able to pick up that kill. It's going to be a crucial one, and then will be picked up as well. SSG start this off perfectly and are looking to make a plan happen here.
Scyther is a bit held at bay here, but the pings come around on the backside. They still have the repel. They've really just been muscled out of the bar site. Shepard finds the first, finally breaks an SSG player, and the second is just slipping past. Scyther almost had the first engagement, but now there's a high chance he might be the last one. Still with the repel outside, still with the player just close, and they have the position underneath as well, so if a rotate comes around on either side, it's going to be watched. There's a drop. Skies has that bearing, has that ready and raring to go. The upside down repel means that Shepard's not going to have a clean route in. There's at least one. But with 15 seconds and 3 more to find, and they're all around you. The fight is on Cigar. Great take, but out of time at this point to be able to get the diffuser. SSG take their first defense with a pretty strong hold against the Eastern front.
Yeah, the Eastern attack really working out there. I mean, the opening said it all, and after that, every Empire member kind of fell back from that area. And I think that's due to the fact that they knew, all right, SSG is going to start opening up now. They're going to use that buck to open up the complete cocktail bar, which truly means that if we stay put there, we're just going to get picked off one by one. And thus they decided to go aggressive towards the piano, still hoping that the approach would be coming down from the red area. In the end, it did not. And Empire will decide to not go back there straight away. The reading room is going to be where they head to next. But they have to make sure that they don't lose an important roamer like that if it forces you to rotate all to a different side of the site.
So, SSG, you open with a round, and you got to see if you can thread more together. You've obviously got the ones either side of the turn of the half, which gives you a good mental boon, but there's still a lot left to do. It was a very well put together take. They knew exactly what they wanted to try and crack open, and it just forced and shepherded the Empire players out of position. They were suddenly on the far side of the world. They were suddenly struggling to get themselves entirely locked in and couldn't find a way to rebuff the approach of the Americans.
Definitely not. An Empire, well, they still have 3 rounds of an advantage and only needed 2 more in the next 5 to secure themselves a 2-0 victory. Surely they don't want to go down the same path that Na'Vi went down before here. Otherwise, I'm going to start to doubt it might be an EU curse. Empire. Slowly setting themselves up on that top floor and also on the middle one. Ensure themselves that they can hold on to this site. No verticalities being made as of yet towards the actual bomb site, so nothing to stop a potential plant, because if you manage to live long enough, you can always make them if the plant starts to happen and be more successful with it. Whereas if you make them at the start of the round and you lose control, that is going to be a free way for the attackers in that matter. Interesting opening there made on the piano to Red Stairs wall. Is going to be making it a little bit more difficult to go for a drop of the SSG players. Afraid of the fact that they might be picked up by a player inside the piano. Fultz is already on the top of the Red Stairs though, and the drops are coming through. They now know no one is inside piano and will gladly take control of it. Jump out back on from Rampy, opened up that rotation, knows his job is done there, and continues to head on to the next point he needs to be.
SSG, they obviously have to try and capitalize on the pace because they do not have otherwise the time to reset it. Always takes a huge bout of damage there, potentially from above. It looks like there is a player in that position, but it's Fultz that actually finds the first spray around. No, it wasn't a player. It doesn't matter though. There is a sudden pickup. Dan at least stops Fultz, but not before. He's been able to find his second for the round, and look what they've taken out. The smoke as well. Joystick in a scrappy fight, and Rampy suffers, but there is that swing round onto the Balk side. There's more SSG players that are setting themselves up, and Joystick still has utility he can pull his way back to. No presence on the eastern windows as of yet, but there is a white stairs body. By the looks of it, I'm not sure if that was inside or outside. He's just making sure that nobody goes for the rotate. It's the Nomad, obviously with the air jab capabilities to ensure their own safety, but they're sort of waiting for a rotation to be forced.
In the meantime, the bar is being taken here by the SSG players. Flashbangs are coming around the corner. The ADSs are not currently picking them up, and that means they can try and push forward now. You see a little bit of an opening being made there, and as it's only up left to Dan now, a double kill from SSG leads through. Posco will be able to pick up that final kill, and yet again, it is going to be SSG that starts their comeback. Only 2 rounds of a difference now between them and Empire. And Empire, they quickly need to reconvene to see what exactly is happening right now. It's not going to be a tactical timeout just yet. I expect that to be in the next round if they lose that as well.
Yeah, before the advantage changes hands, they'll potentially have a conversation here, but SSG, these attacks so far, they've both been very, very sharp. They've been able to sort of isolate the problems they need to take care of. They've got all the prep. They've got all the rundowns and the defenses that are being put before them, and what seemed like an insurmountable task in the first half is becoming a little bit more possible, and, you know, there's still Empire for trying to dig themselves in. They've still only 1 round away from potential series point, and 2 rounds away from the series itself, and that's something that SSG's always got to be aware of, but sometimes the pressure is the hottest the closest you are to the sun.
All right, 5-3. Empire still 2 rounds away as SSG is mounting their second comeback of the day. Yesterday, when the pressure... this morning, when the pressure started to rise, when they were playing up against Na'Vi, they were 5-1 down on the Clubhouse and managed to bring it back. After that, Na'Vi wasn't able to win a single attacking round anymore. Empire right now find themselves on a 5-3 lead, which was a 5-1 on the back of their attack, but now need to win these defensive rounds in what seems to be a very attack-sided map so far. Fun fact, every single kill in this map, opening kill, that is led to the round eventually. That goes 5 times for Empire, 3 times for Spacestation Gaming.
That is a fun fact. Let's see if it comes true for the rest of this as we start to see the approach from the top. Pace being applied here. So they're able to get in, get the defaults dropped, and try and get themselves some control here now. Can they try and find a single Empire player? There seems to be no one up here, at least as far as Hotton's able to tell, and they feel confident to actually send that buck in behind and start trying to apply that pressure, as all of them are actually all the way downstairs. They're not going to go for too high of an extension. The closest here is Joystick, who was on a drone there behind the plant pot that he wasn't quite fully aware of, but at least had the wherewithal to pull himself back as they're continuing their hot drone all the way down. And now, very quickly, within that opening minute, they've got themselves here prepped and ready on the second story to start their approach to the bot.
Drops are coming through already, and so they know they need to head to that kitchen. A minute and 48 seconds left on the clock, and some verticality is being attempted right now. This is the difficulty of the defense here. As soon as all these default angles will be opened up, suddenly there's not much to play for anymore. And due to the fact that there were no roamers on the side of Empire, and there still isn't, there is quite literally no one on the site currently. The VIP player is the most important one at this moment in time, because he has the opportunity, Dan has the opportunity to stop any jumping from that staircase. But he will be receiving pressure very soon here, as they're trying to take care of these bulletproof cameras on the side of SSG. There's still 70 seconds left. There's so much time on their hands, and shortly they will start their execute after they've found these yokai drones.
That's it. The first is revealed, and will he get the angle? There it is. Zapped and removed, and they're going to just go on a little bit of hunt for the second. Hidden in little nooks and crannies, ready to try and cover some of this plant. Shepard, well, he's still got the other one in pocket. And that's the play right now. He's waiting for them to think the pressure's all clear. He's waiting to see if he can get himself stacked up and maybe get that thrown a bit closer, but this is where he might find himself under a little bit more pressure than he was before. Long arming. Some of those were my discs all the way down into the drop, and smoke canisters too, 30 seconds, and without having the clear on the bodies, it's going to turn into a hot drop. They take it, the smoke goes through, and now they're in sight. Skies is going to see if he can slink his way too, but with the Echo where he is, he can just throw that over the top. The Echo drone's able to stop one, and Skies gets dropped. They retake, but the spray comes through. The Echo still in a position here. He needs the cover and support of Dan to make sure he doesn't get dropped and keep himself focused, but look at Rampy on the far side, and Folt's getting one more, 10 seconds, and that Echo is in a little bit of a tricky situation right now. Joystick is offering some support. Shepard is his own, and with 5 seconds left, a 2 versus 2, no kit in hand. They've got to go for a very quick aggressive take here. They can't quite make the distance, and Empire sit on series point.
There it is, series points. They need one more in the next 3 to ensure themselves of their continuation in that upper bracket, and they would send SSG down after they've already had a rough game in the morning against Na'Vi, but Empire is looking to be that European team that continues that dream. A good use of utility there, actually. It was fun to see because no one was actually in the side. Smoke canisters were used to ease up the players that went for the inside at that moment. And then the yokai came out. Got a stun out. You instantly saw someone run over with a pistol to go for the assassination on the planter, making sure that the diffuser is dropped cold, and they will have to put someone in a place where they can pick it up again. And the time slowly started to dwindle on the side of SSG, where they had so much time at the start of the execute, 1 minute and 20 seconds. They ran out of time in the end due to the fact that the Empire members were basically skirmishing all around the site, not really giving them a way back in.
So SSG, you just need 3 now. But you need 3 now. You need to have a perfect take across a rotation of sites here to get yourself to OT, let alone block out this map. And again, I'm not entirely sure it's a flip of the coin or a preference of the team whose map it isn't. But at this point, if you've chosen to lead in on your defense in OT, you're probably regretting that decision based on how this game has gone heftily into the favor of attackers.
Yeah, you definitely will. I mean, there's some teams that are like, all right, well, if we start off on attack and we make it to OT, that means we probably would be okay continuing on attack. You know, there's multiple ways around it. Some teams just go straight for the preference. Some play it on their first starting site so they can switch that pace a little bit. Because if you couldn't close it out on that half that you just finished on, you might be able to do it on the half that you started on. Either way, it is, again, going to be that top-down approach. We are in reading, we are in dining. It means there is going to be that verticality. And the last time around, we did see some stuff being quickly given away by Empire, which I was confused about. So I really hope to see that they're not doing that again. I hope that they're putting up the fight. Maybe even commit 1 or 2 players to literally die on that spot if they have to, but just to make sure that SSG is not going to be able to just waltz through like that.
Fault's putting pressure there onto Pixel and just forcing any player that might be there out. That Bulletproof survives for now, and that's a little bit of an irritant as he wiggles his way up to the top because he's used a lot of his gadgetry and abilities to try and clear that corner. Now they're going to see if they can just try and put some flat pressure here across. Hot and Cold is here to offer some support. It's a long firefight to Joystick on the back line with Scyther holding down on White. They have that little bit of width, and you can see Shepard is actually rotating in directly underneath potentially to try and just offer something back in and make sure they don't just sliver their way down, as full red control is now in their favor.
Yeah, they have full red control, starting to go into Piano as well, and always is hearing that red pinks are coming down upon him. He's taking small amounts of damage here, but manages to escape with his life, and as he does get spotted out on a drone, is quickly changing directions as well. Could still be of use. Dan opens up. Very important here, because so far still opening kills lead to round wins in the end. There's yet to be an exception for that. And as he finds Fultz, it's still one of those key members out of play as well. It's one of those LMGs that no longer will swing around the corner. Hot and Cold will soon be aware of the player on those brown stairs, though, as he's knocking on the door of the site.
Knocking on the door indeed, and might not know about the player on brown. Goes on and sends in the Gemini replicator, but with Rampy holding off Zulu and verticality's not in their control, it's going to have to be a bit of an aggressive dash here. They're seeing if they can lock in Pillar's wall. They're going to see if they can get this popped open. The grenade goes wide towards anyone that might be on the back ballast, so they rotate onto Laundry. They slink their way through, turn the first firefight. Can't quite get it entirely locked in, and there it is. Joystick with a drop down. Bosco battles back, but there's a player just on the opposite side. Everybody's blinded and stunned with Joystick going down. Skies doing big work, and suddenly SSG has stormed the site and been able to retake Mantle, but Scyther is above and always is on a swing, undetected, undeterred. It's an important take now. Gets the first, and with only a handful of seconds left, they find the pond. They can't get it. SSG survive just one more round, and it was a heck of a storm through.
Indeed, storm through there, and due to the lack of verticality for Empire, they weren't quite able to find that plant from happening up above. So they were forced to drop, they were forced to take the horizontal gunfights, and where they took one, they had no clue that the plant was going down at the position it did go down in the end. And that leaves us 6-4. SSG is continuing their comeback here, and Bar will be chosen next. A site that wasn't won by Empire, rather they gifted control to the complete east side, to the side of SSG, who gladly made use of it. And that is something they need to make sure they don't do again. They need to hold on to it. And it all started with the roamer they lost at the bottom floor. That is what lost them that round, and that is what they need to prevent from happening, or double up. Bring 2 roamers potentially, or create some verticalities. There's multiple ways around it, but if you're afraid of the buck opening up, you either need to step it up and take the fight to him, or try and directly counter him.
Empire, just one separates you, and you do still have that time, that moment to have a communication. You are so close to being able to wrap up this day after SSG have had quite a long one, and to be fair, if SSG take this map, well, their day's going to get even longer. That's something they've got to be prepared for. They've played long days and long series before, but 2 best of 3s, not entirely back-to-back.
No. Had a 3-hour break, which is, of course, very nice. Not always you get that opportunity.
No.
Close qualifier, Eminem had to go almost right afterwards.
Yeah.
Play 8 maps in a row with just, I think, 30 minutes break in between. That was absolutely brutal. So at least SSG has had some time to prepare for Empire here. Either way, again, top floor is the site. And last time it was a complete east take coming in from the Space Station side after Empire gave away complete control. See a lot more utility actually, or players from Empire playing around that east side. It's Scyther on the white stairs, for example, that has a Rooney that could just jump out if there's any repels on there with just a single punch. We also still have the player below. Might be spotted out by a drone soon, as Rampy is trying to get her some information around here. But Joystick tries to stay hidden as best as he can.
Well, they're able to get a little bit of a breach, but the mute jammer stops the second, falling and filtering its way down. Rampy's there to do a little bit of quick work. There's the ping, there's the spot, and that'll get finished and opened up all the way. It's still being sort of pinged there. He's concerned he's going to get swung on, and there was a player actually going for the slow creep, but he's already done what he needs to do. And he makes sure he gets out of there somewhere safe that he can be stacked up and ready to support. There's a bit of a reveal, a bit of a drone game there that's coming through against it, and oh, Dan takes the head off of Rampy with a blinding shot. Throughout and up onto the stairs, and now they've got a little bit of an awkward hole to try and hop through because they're concerned about the breach that was opened below. Without that control, there's always, well, as we heard, a distant explosion and the rattle of a C4.
Not quite sure if they're worried about it or if they just cannot jump through, because you saw quite some people bunching up on it. There's a drone out there, though, from Shepard that he managed to, well, hunt down before and get a pest deployed upon it. And as they burn the serial laser gate, they want to go for a push at some point. But this is a very well-hidden Evil Eye right there, taking some chip damage down at the SSG players. It might not matter much at the end, but you never know. If they're going to be down at 1 HP, and that one Zep could have been the difference in the end. There's going to be a Selma deployed, wondering if they have anything in a position to stop those from detonating. Doesn't seem to be the case, and that means the Maestro will quickly have to reposition.
Yeah, hops up to a bit of safety that still has that cover. There's a C4. Oh. There's a gone player. Talked about it's a bit of a danger before, but I guess it wasn't the rotation, and it's the play around Scyther with one more. And now it is just Faults in Skies to see if they can try and keep SSG here fighting along the top. They're going for a bit of a swing and a whip. There's still obviously Maestro cams that are going to be able to cause a problem. There's a swing onto Pixel. Doesn't quite get the full connection. 15 seconds. Empire are just sort of dancing. They're giving them little tastes, little flavors of different bullets and guns. Either side, either swing. Faults gets one, gets two. Right across the beam of the big bar, but with a handful of seconds, can't get the third. And it is an attempt at a plant here, but Empire either side. Russia, they progress. EU stops the day that NA is having so far. And SSG can surmount one opponent today, but the second takes them to the lower bracket.
The second indeed sends them to the lower bracket, and as I said before, after they win, there's just some quick fist bumps that were going out. Not too much emotion just yet. They haven't quite won it. And as the social media manager is quickly recording the live response video there, he was watching the stream as well, and so you could see he was still one round behind. So
well, he doesn't know how it ends.
He doesn't know how it ends yet. Even though he just saw everybody stand up, he has no clue how that game ended. Of course, we do. It is Empire that has won it with a 7-4. It was eventually, and again, Space Station started to fight back. They were getting close. It's that round number 11, completely went out of their way. It was the entries that kept on coming in, the kills that were unable to be traded, and even though they put up a good effort there, Fultz with, I believe it was a double, almost a triple kill, was trying to bring it back in their favor. But unfortunately, it was too little, too late, and Empire are progressing through the upper bracket.
It was a frustrating moment there for SSG, and you can sort of see it on their faces. Obviously, playing one series and coming straight into this, there's that trickiness, but losing Club and losing it so close from an Empire that just seemed cool and collected. They knew exactly the game that they needed to bring. They brought it.
They brought it indeed. They started off with that 5-1 half, and after that, they were definitely in favor for the rest of the round. And whereas SSG had a difficult day today, playing a best of 3, followed up by a best of 3, they will be in the position that Empire was in today, but then tomorrow in the losers bracket, because they will be one step ahead of every other team. So that might actually give them a little bit of rest.
And that's it, and that's their sort of position now. And as I said, they are exhausted after that, but there's still a fight. There's still a huge selection of teams that are sort of battling through, and obviously the B stream, with how back and forth it's been all the time. I suppose before we have that, we have analysts to break things down and give a full read onto everything. So we'll throw it to a break before our analysts come back with a more intense look at that showdown.